Ever feel like maybe you're too old or just don't have what it takes to really make a difference? Well, today's deep dive is going to challenge that idea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We're meeting a group of seniors in Taiwan who are showing that age is no limit when it comes to sharing your faith. We're talking about the Yile300 Age Gospel Puppet Troupe.
You know, what's really captivating about this group is they're inspired by that story of Gideon and his 300 warriors. Remember, Gideon's small band of faithful soldiers beat a way bigger army.
Through faith.
Yeah, through faith and divine guidance. This troupe, their oldest member is 87.
Wow.
They really embody that same spirit of courage and trust in God.
Okay, so let's break this down a little. You mentioned Gideon's 300. Could you maybe give us a quick recap for those who might not know that story?
Absolutely. In the book of Judges, Gideon was chosen by God to deliver the Israelites from oppression.
Right.
He started with a large army, but God reduced it down to just 300 men to show that victory wouldn't come from human strength, but from God's power.
So it's a story about faith winning, even when it seems impossible.
Exactly.
And that's what this puppet troupe seems to be all about. Our source today is a recent article from a Taiwanese Christian news site that highlights their incredible work.
Their name, 300 Age, even shows their connection to Gideon's story and highlights that their senior members are their strength. They also deeply believe in Jehovah Jireh.
And Jehovah Jireh means?
A Hebrew phrase meaning God will provide.
That's a beautiful concept. And speaking of provision, how they do ministry is pretty unique. Instead of having a traditional church building, they're like a mobile gospel factory, taking their puppet show on the road.
Yeah, this mobile setup is fascinating. It lets them reach a much wider audience, bringing the gospel directly to communities all across Taiwan.
It's like they're modern-day disciples.
Right, spreading their message far and wide.
I love that. And they're not just puppeteers. They're singers, set designers.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about multi-talented. This really shows how dedicated and resourceful they are.
It does, and their commitment to doing it all themselves, it kind of echoes Gideon's warriors.
How so?
Well, each member has a crucial role, demonstrating that even a small group can do big things when they work together for a common purpose.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
And you know, their choice of Jonah and the big fish as their signature performance really adds another layer to that connection with Gideon.
Oh, that's interesting. How so?
Well, Jonah, at first, he tries to run away from God's call.
Just like Gideon.
Exactly. Just like Gideon had his doubts, needed reassurance. But eventually, they both surrendered to God's plan.
Yeah.
And I think that resonates with people because we all have those moments where we question our purpose or try to avoid challenges.
Yeah, it's a relatable struggle for sure. And speaking of challenges, the article is full of stories where the troops face these obstacles that could have stopped them in their tracks.
Oh, yeah.
Like that time when 2 of their vans broke down on their way to a performance.
That's a really powerful example of their faith in action. Instead of freaking out, they prayed.
Trusted that God would provide them.
Yeah. And then a mechanic just shows up, seemingly out of nowhere, to get them back on the road.
Like something out of a movie.
Mm.
It really shows how their belief in Jehovah Jireh isn't just words.
It's not just a saying.
It's a core principle that guides what they do.
Exactly. And this unwavering faith, it reminds me of the courage of Gideon's 300.
Right.
When they faced that huge enemy. They didn't rely on their own strength, but on God's power.
And this trust in God's plan seems to be what led them to the mobile ministry model in the first place.
Right.
The article mentions how they had a few chances to set up a permanent gospel factory, but those plans always fell apart.
It's fascinating how what they saw as setbacks actually led them to something more impactful.
Yeah.
They could have easily given up, but instead they adapted, trusting that God was leading them the right way.
It reminds me of that saying, bloom where you're planted.
Yeah.
They didn't get stuck on what wasn't working and embraced a new way of doing things, and now their mobile ministry lets them reach communities that might not have heard their message otherwise.
It also challenges what we think about being a senior citizen.
Right.
They could be relaxing, enjoying retirement.
Yeah.
But they're out there, facing challenges head on, spreading joy.
It's incredibly inspiring. Their story really proves that you're never too old to make a difference, and that our later years can be a time of amazing purpose and growth.
Absolutely. They're living proof that age is just a number and that a passionate heart can overcome anything.
And it's not just about sharing their faith.
Right?
They're sharing their life experiences, their wisdom, and their love for their community. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and lose sight of the bigger picture. But this story reminds us that there are people out there, living with incredible purpose, spreading joy, and making a real difference.
Absolutely. And one thing that really strikes me about the Yile300 Age Gospel Puppet Troupe is their choice to use puppets. It's such a disarming art form. It lets them connect with people on a deeper level, like beyond language and cultural barriers.
I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're so right. Puppets have that, that magical way of capturing our imaginations, bringing stories to life in a way that's engaging and heartwarming at the same time.
And think about the nostalgia, too.
Oh, yeah.
Many of us have those good childhood memories of puppet shows. It's almost like tapping into our inner child.
Right.
That part of us that's still, open to wonder and new possibilities.
I wonder if that's part of why they chose Jonah and the Big Fish as their main show. It's a classic Bible story with themes that connect with everyone, no matter their age. But using puppets makes it even more accessible and engaging.
It's a brilliant approach. The story of Jonah running from God's call, then facing the consequences, and ultimately getting a second chance. It's such a powerful message of redemption. And with puppets, they can share those themes in a way that's entertaining and gets you thinking.
And it's not just the puppets, right? It's the skill and artistry of the puppeteers themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not just moving dolls around. They're bringing them to life, like with so much expression and emotion.
And you remember a lot of them learned those skills later in life.
Yeah.
Showing us that it's never too late to embrace new passions,
It really is never too late.
Yeah.
Their story is a reminder that we can keep learning and growing throughout our whole lives. And the fact that they put so much effort into their craft says a lot about how committed they are to sharing their message with excellence.
It's also interesting to think about the cultural context. In so many cultures, elders are respected for their wisdom and experience. The Yile300 Age Gospel Puppet Troupe embodies that respect by becoming storytellers, passing down those timeless values and beliefs to younger generations.
Such a beautiful example of intergenerational connection. They're not just putting on a show. They're sharing their lives, their faith, and their hopes for the future.
In a world that often feels divided, their story is a powerful reminder that we are all connected. It shows that even with differences, we can connect through stories, laughter, and that shared desire for hope and meaning.
So as we ramp up our deep dive into the Yile300 Age Gospel Puppet Troupe, what stands out the most to you?
That's a great question.
That their unwavering faith, their creative approach to ministry, or just their inspiring example of aging with purpose?
Whatever it is, let their story be something that makes you think about your own life.
Yeah.
Are there ways you can use your own passions and talents to make a difference?
This troupe has shown us that age doesn't have to limit us from living a life full of purpose and joy.
It really is inspiring.
They've reminded us how powerful storytelling can be, how important community is, and how transformative faith can be.
Their story is a testament to the fact that we all have something special to offer the world, no matter how old we are or where we come from. And as we live our own lives, let's remember their perseverance, their dedication to what they do, and their unwavering belief that even the smallest acts of kindness can make a big difference.
So go out there and share your own story. Embrace your passions and don't ever underestimate the impact you can have. And who knows, you might even inspire someone else along the way.